Hey everyone, thank you so much again for your patience and thank you for tagging into this segment of Black Spring with Autumn. Now again, I hate to be selfish and tear you away from the compelling and the constitutional custodians of the Capitol Hill hearing today, but I'm interrupting the program to bring you something that I think is a bit an agitative kind of measure regarding the H.R. 2740 bill. Now, this comes from the New American. It's an article that was published last month. Now, the H.R. 2740 is a pretty massive bill that basically provides border funding, albeit not the border of the United States. Okay, now this was also approved by the House-controlled Democrats. Now, I think most people know by now that there was this huge bill had plenty of funding and would have more than provided for the measure that President Trump had in mind for the U.S. southern border. However, what I'm bringing to you is this bill, which you can of course read it for yourself. The bill creates $1.25 billion fund for the use by the U.S. Secretary of Defense for the purpose of protecting Middle Eastern countries from the Islamic State. And that was including by the funding border security. Okay, so of course, this particular measure it gives details on, it provides assistance, including training, equipment, logistics, supplies, infrastructure repair, renovations. It sounds like some of the pieces of what we needed at the U.S. southern border. However, it goes on into the article. It talks about that these funds may be used in such amounts as the Secretary of Defense may determine to enhance the border security of the nations adjacent to the conflict areas. Now, these are the nations that are known for conflict. They've been known for conflict for many decades, and that is, of course, Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, and then there's Tunisia. And this is the areas of conflict resulting from actions of the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. But this is the thing. The problem with this is a measure that's taken on the American taxpayers' back, which we're not afforded those opportunities to protect and secure our own borders from the vulnerabilities and the elements that are on our southern border. But I also want to say that with all of these funds available and all of these appropriations, the Democrats, they made sure that the president would not be able to use the funds on our southern border. In fact, they're specifically outlined on page 304. It says, quote, "None of the funds appropriated or otherwise made available by this act or any prior Department of Defense appropriation acts may be used to construct a wall, fence, border barriers, or border secure infrastructure along the southern land border of the United States." Now that's pretty egregious, right? Well, in that specifically, this H.R. 2740 never made it. It hasn't made it to President Trump's desk. With the provisions added by Republicans to the Senate version, it never made it there because, of course, the Democrats, stall bills and, basically subvert efforts to protect our border and to hold up legislation to protect our own border. But here's the main thing. The main thing is that, some people have even said, okay, it's a costly measure. It's not going to stop anything. Oh, he said Mexico would pay for the wall. Da 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 da. They bring in all of these excuses as to why we're not going to protect our own country, our own sovereignty. But here's my ticker for today, even on this, is that this particular act or measure from the Democrats, this speaks to the conflict and also speaks to President Trump's plan to reduce the subsidizing cocoons that we have and the defense spending that we have between NATO and the UN. And it's being funded by the American taxpayers. So on a global stage, he's confronted both of these for raising more and challenged them to raise more money to ease the burden on the taxpayers. Now, if you even look back in history, that we've historically been known for protecting and supporting, these efforts in foreign nations, but we still end up taking the burdens and we still end up getting the criticisms from our allies. And many people are more than tired of it. We don't see the benefits. We see that many of these organizations, NATO and the UN, they're very much ineffective. They're all talk. They can't get it together. And are we a more peaceful world because we are affiliated or we still have membership in these organizations? That's why I think President Trump has coined these groups, they're obsolete. That this is not, we're post World War at this point. We have to deal with what's going on now. In fact, these governments alone have changed. Many of these governments have adopted, free migration, secular values, these social protections, and, they've suppressed even their own prosperity that they had, like maybe between the 60s and the 70s. But it's basically their economy is shrinking. And right now, our economy is in really great shape. And with these measures, at our doorstep, it is pretty imperative that we not add more by way of Paris agreements or new Green Deals. All of these things are going to suppress our economy and take us to a place in which we're going to shrink our own economy. We're going to devastate our own economy. So you might ask, why are you bringing these things up? And of course, maybe you're not asking, but just for kicks, the authority that we do have, we can, with the primaries and the general election coming up, you still have time to check your own conservative index for your own representatives and senators' records. Find out how they're voting on these measures. I mean, you have big measures like the H.R. 5, that's the Equality Act. You have the H.R. 9. I mean, those things need to be upheld, and these representatives need to be held accountable, by way of, the Constitution. That's their oath of office. Since they're such huge, custodials of the Constitution, why aren't they upholding their own oath? I mean, it's on them to uphold it. But I don't know. Do your research as available, where available, and let me know what you think in the comments. And I thank everyone for being here through the technical difficulties. But please, if you can, like, subscribe, share, and I will see you again here next time on Black Spring with Autumn. Have a great Monday.